Is that some awesome music or what? This is Elle, and you are on Shift Happens Radio, and we are located right here on the, what do we want to call it? The IP address of www.rhinoonair.com, and we have an exciting day today. Of course, you know, if you've listened to Shift Happens Radio before, it's all about the shift. It's all about everything that's changing in our world today. The truth is, and you and I all know it, that everybody is being forced to make changes. And if you're not doing it yet, you will have to. Well, maybe you won't have to. I shouldn't sound like that. But the bottom line is that I personally have had incredible shifts in my life. I'm still going on as we speak now. And the reality is that that it is never as bad as you really think it is. And from absolutely everything that happens, something wonderful happens. And so if you can let go of all the fear and just walk forward and realize that there are no coincidences in our lives, that people come to us for a reason. And so in saying this, this lovely man sitting next to me is somebody that I ran into. And through all of my kind of out and about, I ran into Eric Stewart. And Eric is you started Code Green Communities, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, super. But you've done many, many things. And so today you are my one guest for the entire show. And the reason I want to do that is because you have so much that we need to talk about. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things here, folks, that if you have a chance, be sure to check us out. Now, Eric is recording this, and we will be posting it on YouTube. And we will have this up on the website here at Rhino On Air. Eventually, we're having a little technical problems right now. But that will be up very soon, and you will, after that, be able to reach it also at www.shifthappensradio.com. So you will have access to it in 3 different spaces. Eric Stewart is from Newport Richey.
Yes.
And he has been working as far as anything that you could possibly imagine in the permaculture, organic, reduce, reuse, let's be good to our earth kind of mindset, which is what we really need to be doing.
Oh,
I mean, that's the truth, is that part of the reason that we are having so many problems right now, I think, in our world, is because everybody thinks that they have to buy everything new, that they have to have the most expensive this and that, and we really don't have to be doing that. There's such beauty in just simplicity. Oh, yeah. And there's such beauty in listening to just, you know, being outside and getting your fingers in the soil. I was doing that this morning, planting seeds, and I was having fun. Actually,
let me see your fingernails. Are they
nope,
dirty?
They're clean. They're clean. Yeah, I've been growing some avocado from seed and some grapefruit from seed and all of that. But I have to watch out because I have little varmints that like
fruit
to nibble.
Rats. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is what I would like to do. I do have to mention one thing. We do have a sponsor today also, and that is the Pura Vida Wellness Spa, which is located over at 4930 Park Boulevard in Suite 9. Now at 49th and Park Boulevard, it's a really busy intersection. So when you get there, it's in the corner where the donut shop is, and it's in the very, very corner if you can't seem to see it. If you'd like to have an appointment and learn a little bit more about yoga, or if you want to check out, they have this amazing infrared spa sauna that you can go into. You can make an appointment with them at myyogavita.com. You can talk with either Kathleen Leslie, who is a licensed colon therapist, and and I don't have my glasses on, and I don't have glasses with me. I broke my glasses. Oh no. And then we also have Stephanie Carroll, who is a yogi, and both of these gals are absolutely wonderful. So if you're looking for an opportunity to find a place to relax and get a little stress relief, there's the perfect spot for you. So Eric, this is what I would like to do with you, first of all. I would like first, have you always been organically inclined? I mean, always been like an earth baby, I'm going to say?
Well, I just want to start off by thanking you for inviting me to the show. And I remember when we first met, I believe it was over at Occupy Tampa.
And we talked on actually Facebook for I don't know how long.
Months and months.
But here we are, and then all of a sudden
I'm like a Facebook holic.
Yes, yeah.
You always are liking my links and my pictures.
And folks, you need to check them out because Facebook is full of everything that Eric offers, not to mention everything that we'll talk about today too. So.
But in regards to your question, have I always been an Earth baby? I guess in a way. I mean, I always grew up with the Disney films of like The Last Ferngully and just
what a great movie.
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah.
And I guess I was always mindful of science and mindful of the environment. My family is all native. Well, I'm native to Tampa Bay, and my family has lived here for about 20 or 30 years. And so on our family gatherings, we would always go to the local parks, like Fort DeSoto down in St. Petersburg, or Philip E. Anderson Park. All around the Pinellas County, we've been to every single park. And so my uncle, who's very close with me, he's always taking me around through nature walks and just really made me think and be observant of nature.
Right, very cool. And so here we are, and we have Code Green Community, and you're doing a lot of things. I mean, you're offering classes. You also are part of GreenDreams. Why don't we do this first? Let's do this. Why don't you tell me what your heart is and what you're really focusing on right now, and let's talk about that. I mean, the Code Green Community is you're actually starting to do something really special. Can we talk about that first?
Sure, yeah. Well, I guess I should explain what Code Green Community is. It's an online social network. You can log in using your Facebook, your Twitter, your Google, and you can link with hundreds of other people in the Tampa Bay area.
Right.
And it's, I wanted to build a website that was open source, meaning that anyone on the website could add events, add photos, add blogs. It's like a mini Facebook, but away from Facebook. Not all that clutter. It's very specific for Tampa Bay and for going green. And I built it several years ago. I used to own ExxonMobil stocks, and I was very interested in the oil markets. And I found out that the oil markets, it's a finite resource. And so eventually we're going to plateau and peak production of oil and then start to decline. Yes.
And we have. Yes.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And so I decided that there needs to be more information and more action going on about reducing our need for fossil fuels. Transitioning away from fossil fuels.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to build like an action network where people could get integrated, learn, and right from the get-go get into action and get into doing something around their home or in their community that could transition away from fossil fuels.
That's an excellent thought. Well, and the reality is that we have so many other options. They squelch some of them, and then again there's those that may just come true here very soon enough. There's a gentleman who's developed and learned that we can actually run our vehicles on salt water. Which would be a pretty awesome thing since we do have, plenty of that at this point.
Well, there's plenty of energy. E equals MC squared. Einstein came up with that over 100 years ago. So you have like a little container of water, your bottled water. That bottled water has so much energy in it. I went to school for chemistry and for biology.
Oh, how cool is this?
And so the bonds between the hydrogen and the oxygen in your H2O, it's a very intense amount of energy, and when you break it apart and you make hydrogen and oxygen as a gaseous form, you can get lots of energy. And so we're getting to that point where we could use solar power and split the a bottle full of water and make tremendous amounts of energy, just the way plants do it every single day through photosynthesis. But the problem that lies in our society is that we are not designing our living spaces, and we're not designing our society in the right way. We have a bad paradigm. And we need to shift our paradigm.
Agreed.
Most definitely.
So I totally agree with that, because unfortunately the focus is on something that, I mean, it's about money and it's about power, it's about control. And the truth is that we can all live in a loving communal, happy society, and we could genuinely help and work with each other it's, for me, it's not about the money, and it really is about the message. And for those of you people who don't know this, I work and I do this radio show, and I do not get paid to do this. I do this because I love doing this show. I love being able to pass information on and help people find, when I first started Shift Happens, I said to somebody that, I know I'm going to piss some people off. And you know what? It's all right. But the reason that that's happening is because something is resounding within themselves that really, really touches them. And instead of being angry with me, take a look at what's being said and ask yourself, what is it? Why am I so irritated with this? Why is it? I mean, there's obviously something I can do differently for myself, obviously. It's just like when you get annoyed with someone else, the reason that you get annoyed with them is because you see something about yourself in them.
Yeah.
And so this is what this is about. The Shift Show is here to help you see, to learn, and to open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the other possibilities in shifting times. And we really are in a place where we do have to start growing our own food. We do have to start loving our earth far more than what we've been doing, and paying attention to it and respecting it. And you can literally live from your land. I mean, very easily. And I have to share this part about what you posted. There were two things that you posted on Facebook. So, folks, if you haven't friended Eric now on Code Green Communities on Facebook, I would strongly suggest you go on there and do so. In the last 24 hours, he put up two different pictures which I thought were so cool. There was a chicken coop that was made out of an old dresser, which I just thought was absolutely awesome and really cute. I mean, it looks, for the effect of it is so much fun. And the other was you took an old shoe bag that you would normally hang over your door, and you made that into a mini herb garden, right? Was it herb or is it real food?
I just want to share that those weren't pictures of my actual garden.
Oh, okay.
They were just pictures of ideas.
Okay.
So I work
great.
I work with GreenDreams, and GreenDreams is owned by Pete and Melissa Canaris. They started it up after wanting to get away from landscaping.
Right.
Pete owns a landscaping business for the past 11 years, and he was cutting grass, and he was learning as he was cutting grass how much he didn't really like it.
Yep.
And he has a young son, and his young son was getting sick, and both him and his wife were really investigating why was the young son sick, and it was to deal with nutrients in the food and the amount of what kind of food they were eating. So they started changing their lifestyle. They started getting more healthy, started eating more vegetarian, and started growing food in their backyards. And both Pete and myself were both inspired from a permaculturist in Newport Richey. His name is Jim Kovaleski. Maybe a good character to have on. He's going to be leaving in May, so maybe if you can get him in here before then. Oh, well, for next year.
We could sneak him in on another show, though, I think.
But the point that I wanted to make is Jim Kovaleski is a market gardener. Just like you said about growing food and living off your land, Jim literally lives on his land in the back in a tent. He doesn't even live in his house. He usually has someone wolfing, like a volunteer that
working
will come
with
in.
him.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so usually he'll have a volunteer working with him, or he'll just do it by himself. But he's grown vegetables in his front, in his backyard, his mother's home a couple of blocks away, and his his mother-in-law's house. Just next door to him. And so out of these three different yards, he grows enough vegetables to go to farmers markets around Tampa Bay. He goes to Sweetwater, and he sells out of his home as well. And he sells fresh vegetables.
Well, and I think there's a really important point to make here, too, is the fact that they're fresh. And the other thing is that they're organic. And I really feel that's something we need to stress here is that there is a huge difference from some of the things that you might buy in a big chain versus what you would buy here, whether it be from Green Pete or from a local garden source. Because as you said, the nutrients.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And this is the key. This is what's so important about organic, eating organic, and or as close to organic naturally that you can, because this does affect how we our body functions. And it's the more nutrients, of course, that you supply your body, the stronger your body is and more resistant to any kind of disease, which, you know, today is really important. I don't want to go back into all that other stuff because that other stuff has its own place. It's not for us.
Well, just taking from what I've learned in college,
Right.
You have amino acids,
Right.
and you have proteins, which are built by amino acids.
Mhm.
But you also have enzymes in your body, which are living molecules. Like, if they don't have the right temperature and the right pH, they die and they don't function.
Right.
You also have cofactors, which are minerals. So if you don't have your certain minerals that you need to supply your body, then the chemistry within your body doesn't occur. And so you'll have disease. And disease is really a lack of something. It's not, it's a dysfunction in your body because of a lack of something.
And that's why dis-ease.
Mhm.
And some of that can be created from your own mind and that message. But if you're actually eating well enough, it's not as big an issue.
Yeah.
How's that? Yeah. So back to,
Well, I do want to make a disclaimer.
okay.
Jim tries to do as naturally garden as possible.
Yes.
He does use yard waste, recycled yard waste, but he spends really good time cleaning it up, making sure there's nothing in it. So I wouldn't consider him an organic farmer. He's a market gardener. He's
Okay.
using whatever resources are locally and trying to use the most sustainable way of gathering those resources.
Right.
So he'll use a bicycle to go down to the beach that's just down the block and pick up seaweed as a natural fertilizer. But, you know, not necessarily we know what's in that ocean, but he composts it, and through that natural process of heating up the soil and letting the microorganisms and the bacteria, it breaks down a lot of the things that we would naturally find in seaweed or in your recycled yard waste mulch. So by using nature and working with nature, Jim gets this ability to create abundance all around his home. And so this has inspired me, and it's inspired Pete. And I joined Pete last August. I was hosting a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity. We had a community garden that was growing.
Right.
And we just clicked right away. We just became fast friends. I was over at his house like 7 days a week for months and months and learning from him, because I'm kind of I don't want to say I'm an amateur gardener. I'm still a gardener in learning.
I'm an amateur. I am totally 100% an amateur.
I have learned so much from Pete. He's an extraordinary guy. I've learned how to make soil blocks from Pete and from Jim. This idea that we don't need plastic. You can make a soil block, a block made out of soil, where you have all your fertilizers that are natural in that block, and you can just plant the seed into that, and then you can pick up the block and put it straight into your garden once it's developed.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's a way of really energy efficient gardening, really. You're not wasting all that resources on buying trays and trays of gardening material.
Right.
And you can really put the nutrients that you need right where the plant is growing,
There's
rather
this
than...
little mosquito.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Rather than broad spreading your minerals all over your garden, you put them right where the roots are.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
yeah.
Oh, good. So now, do you offer classes and teach people this?
Well, we are in the process of Pete and Melissa are in the process of moving GreenDreams out of the retail store in Odessa. And so I'm kind of taking a break with GreenDreams. I'm focusing more on my Kickstarter for the next couple of months.
And we need to talk about that.
Oh, yeah,
Because
most
we need
definitely.
to bring some light to that right away for you. Yeah.
So Pete and Melissa, they have an acre property in Newport Richey. They're going to be developing a food forest, which
Oh,
is
how
multiple
cool.
layers of
Sure.
fruit and vegetables.
That's
And
wonderful.
they have a chicken coop, worms, rabbits. They're really integrating nature in multiple systems to create a abundance in an acre property. They're going to almost scale up what Jim's been doing. and show people how they can do it. So, and eventually I'll probably host some more classes with GreenDreams, but we just haven't had a good, we haven't had a lot of people coming in for the classes. It's been one or two people, once a month.
Yeah.
So we're still growing.
It's in time.
Oh,
in
yeah.
time. And sometimes I think YouTube and Facebook make things a little bit easier to show what you can do. And so maybe through there you can actually help people.
Oh, I think we've helped a lot of people. We've inspired dozens of people since starting up GreenDreams to start their own gardens.
Right.
And you know, we want the do-it-yourself gardener because we can't be there. And the best fertilizer for a garden is a gardener's shadow. If you're there, if you're present in your garden, you're gonna see that plant needs water, or that plant has little their leaves are browning or yellowing, so that means it needs more nitrogen. So a gardener's shadow is the best fertilizer. So the do-it-yourself gardeners, we try and help support them with natural fertilizers, plants, trees, everything that a gardener will need, especially the soil blocks. We sell the soil blocks.
I would love to learn how to do that myself.
Oh, yeah.
That would be very cool.
And we have a YouTube on it.
Okay.
We literally...
Cool. So tell everybody what the YouTube is. So
sure. Well, I guess I'm working with Pete and Melissa with GreenDreams, which is www.greendreamsfl.com. And that's our main website. You can find our YouTube and a link to Facebook and all of that. And then the Code Green Community website is codegreencommunity.com. And that is more of a social online networking site.
With lots of info. I was I was perusing that, and I have a friend who lives up north where it's cold, and I saw the rocket heater.
Oh yeah,
which I was, whoa! If you're looking for an option to heat your home, what a great. And so, rocket heater, go to Code Green Community. You'll find it there, folks, okay? Okay, you're doing this really cool thing, and you're looking for people to help you out, to sponsor it, to help you fund it.
Yes.
So, should we talk about that now?
Most definitely.
Okay, let's do that.
Just sort of like yourself, I have, for the past couple of years, had a deep spiritual longing to get out there and connect with other people and express what I feel is reality.
Exactly.
And I feel that reality is shifting right now, just like you do. And I wanted to connect people. So I've been bootstrapping Code Green Community. For past 5 years, I've been serving in restaurants. And so I use the tips and the little bit of money I get to help jumpstart the Code Green Community. I've had sponsors, and I do get some donations from some great members that are helping me out, but it's just not enough to pay for the domain and the website and expand the way that I would like to see it.
And it also takes time, so it's not something that you can just turn around, snap your fingers, and it's done, because you have to maintain it, which means the hours that you need to build it and to create it and, and all of that.
So it's an open website,
exactly.
But maybe 80% of it is material that I posted myself.
Right.
Because it's my baby, so.
There you go. Well, and it takes time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, well, everything that you've posted so far, I mean, I look at that and I say, you know, this is the truth. This is absolutely what we need to be doing. And if we can't, not everybody can do it. If we can get even 25% of the world to do this, we could probably feed the world without.
Well, think global but act local is the way I like to think about things. I really believe that all the global problems can be solved here locally.
Yes.
And the very first paragraph of Code Green Community, when you check it out, is the idea that a tipping point could happen. That if we get 10%, 15% of the people in the Tampa Bay area, which is around anywhere from 100,000 to 400,000 people, if you can get that amount of people actually shifting their lives and their relationships with each other, then you can start to see that tipping point occur where we could change our whole entire economy. So getting to the Kickstarter, I have a huge crowd of people. There's almost close to 600 people on Code Green Community. And I wanted to have this idea of a crowd-funded website. So I started up a Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding tool which you can use hundreds and thousands of people can donate small amounts of money to make sure that the project that's creative gets fulfilled. So Kickstarter has launched thousands and thousands of projects. They're only a couple years old, but they've transferred millions of dollars to small ideas, and these ideas grow because people will watch a video and they'll see a description and they'll say, "Oh, I can throw in $10. I'd like to see that happen." And usually there's a reward for it. And what's cool about this too is it's all or nothing. So I have to raise. I'm looking to raise $18,000.
Okay.
And the $18,000 would go towards the website, and it would go towards creation of a documentary.
Right.
For the past 4 years, I've been taking YouTube. I have in the studio right now my camera.
Yep.
And so I've been taking YouTubes of organic farms, aquaponic farms where you're growing tilapia and using the wastewater to grow fish. Very, very energy and water efficient.
I really want to learn how to do that.
Oh yeah.
That to me would be the bomb diggity.
Oh yeah.
That would be it for me. I would love to be able to do that.
I've taken videos of Pete's backyard at GreenDreams. Jim Kovaleski. I've taken different tours of green events. The Earthship. We have a Florida Earthship.
Yes.
It's about halfway developed. It didn't fully develop because of lack of financing.
Right.
But it's just the idea that your home could take care of you, that you could store all of the rainwater and you could collect it, clean it, and use it within your home. And not just once, you could use it and then reuse it and then reuse it and then reuse it. So you could use it up to 5 times, and you could grow food with it. And you could use it to make energy. And then also this idea that we have ACs, air conditioners here in Florida.
I am not a fan of air conditioning.
Well, I mean, if you want to have if you don't want to sweat in Florida, you're going to turn that AC on.
Yeah.
But if you had applied proper design, if you had really observed how nature works, you could design your home to be extremely energy efficient, and so to the point where you wouldn't even need AC because your home would cool itself.
Exactly.
So like the Florida crackers, the natives that were here in Florida in the 18th and 19th century, they built their homes with porches all around so that the sun wouldn't go into the windows and heat up the house. They also put awnings at the very top of buildings so they could open up the top of the building so that cool air, hot air would rise and it would bring in cool air into the homes, and you'd have a circulation effect. So you don't even need AC if you properly design your home.
Yes.
But all of our homes aren't properly designed here in Florida. Our homes are designed to make money.
Yes,
our homes are made to be cookie cutter copies that we can mass produce.
Exactly.
So it's quantity over quality.
Right.
And I like to emphasize that when you think, I don't like the term green after doing it for 4 years. I like to think of it as conscious of where energy and where matter goes, and the fact that we're not implementing it in the most efficient way. We could be doing it totally different.
Well, and here is the reality. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the movie Thrive.
Yeah.
I love that movie, actually. I've seen it 4 or 5 times now. But the whole purpose with Thrive is also a clear statement of we as individuals have the power to change and make things happen. And that we can use energy. It is and could be totally free. And if we could let go of that mindset and allow it to be, because as it's explained, the torus and the energy, it's all available, it's all there, but it's also in the movie brings into the fact that we have to get back to our basics, and that we need to start respecting the earth more and loving and using what's around us.
Well, I like Thrive, and I do have some there's some disagreement I have with Thrive, but the underlying thing that I like about Thrive is it talks about the pyramid structure of our entire economy. And the way I like to refer it to is you have man at the top, man being like male, and then you have female underneath, and then all the different classes and races of people, and then you have all this life that we use and sustain ourselves off. That is how the structure of our economy looks like when you look at it from a broad scale. We don't have, there's still not equality yet. We don't look at animals the way we look at human beings. We don't look at fungus the way that we look at human beings. But if you separate, there's no separation.
There is no separation.
We have fungus and we have bacteria in our bodies.
Well,
so
and we are all that same energy that is as well. I mean, it doesn't make a difference what it is.
We're all stardust.
It's just like this. I mean, this microphone, I mean, the camera, all of this, it's just energy in a different form. That's all it is.
Well, one of my inspiring people is Carl Sagan. He wrote The Cosmos, and he had the Cosmos series.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
As human beings, we can look out and we can explore the universe, and we can see through a telescope how planets are made. And now with our technology, there's a Kepler satellite. Mm-hmm. It's detecting hundreds and hundreds of planets all around the universe. And so how are planets formed? They're formed from the stardust of an exploding star. So when you look at the sun,
right.
You're looking at the creator of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That sun exploded, and all the debris is Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all related. We're all connected.
Totally, completely. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize this.
And that's the paradigm shift.
Exactly.
If you realize that, you start to change, and you start to relate to things differently. You relate to animals,
talking
to
to
people.
your brother and to your sister differently.
Yes.
And you start responding and allowing and letting go. Mm-hmm. I receive a lot of emails, and one in particular was from a woman who is in Mount Shasta, and mm-hmm. she said that there's going to be a major shift on the 21st or the 22nd mm-hmm. of March. Apparently, every 188 days we have something significantly seismic that happens. But other than that, she said that this was going to, and that people are going to, it's almost going to be like a, mm-hmm. that's it. And people who have negative thoughts on their minds are automatically, all of a sudden, going to realize that they're negative, but they're not going to be able to respond to them anymore. Or they're going to see the futility of it. Mm-hmm. And people are going to really start, and that's going to be part of the first of I think many other paradigm shifts that will happen this year.
Well, that's kind of where I'm not going to disagree with you, but I just want to say that I don't think that it's going to be an instantaneous thing.
Oh,
I think there is so
process.
much work to be done, and it's work about educating and really living the lives that relate to how we feel and how we're seeing this world develop.
Right.
If we keep going on with this paradigm, a pyramidal structure mm-hmm. where human beings are over and dominate the entire world, that we dominate other life forms, and that we dominate females, and we dominate other races and other cultures.
And we don't respect animals.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, look what happened just in the last couple of days with Goldman Sachs and Google. Mm-hmm. Two of your big CEOs, or two of your very big top corporate guys, mm-hmm. stepped down and said, I can't do what they're doing anymore. It's not the right thing. And see, voices like that, we need more voices like that to speak up and to start listening to your heart, mm-hmm. not your head.
Most definitely. We are involved in a massive spiritual war, a spiritual war. You know, we're not listening to who we are and what we're about. You know, when I was going to biology class, we had to take a cheek swab, and you looked at your cheek cells underneath the microscope. Well, in your mouth and in your body, you're composed of about 100 trillion cells, mm-hmm. and out of that 100 trillion, only about 10 trillion are human cells. They're figuring that 90% of all human beings are not even human beings. They're bacteria, and there's fungus in us, and there's different organisms. So we are an ecosystem. And when we fully comprehend that we are an ecosystem, each individual one of us, mm-hmm. then we can kind of relate that we're living within a larger ecosystem, within this I like to call it Gaia, this mm-hmm. idea of this whole world is a living organism that self-perpetuates itself.
Right. Cool. Right.
And so the idea is shifting from that paradigm of a pyramidal structure to what I like to consider a buckyball.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I come from chemistry, so there's this idea of carbon molecules. If you take a carbon molecule and you put it with another carbon molecule, it's kind of flimsy and it doesn't link very well.
Right.
But if you interconnect all of these carbon molecules and you make it look like almost like a soccer ball, imagine a soccer ball. That is sort of what a buckyball looks like, which every little node on that soccer ball is a carbon molecule. And it's interconnected to everything else in that ball. That is where we need to understand that we're shifting. We're shifting to this idea that we're all interconnected with everything else in this world.
Exactly. We are. We are one. And this has not been the message. No matter what the purpose was, I really feel in my heart that's what is happening is that people are realizing this, and that energetically, when you start to realize that, this is what the shift is about.
Yeah.
This is that awakening. That it's time for all of us. You know, I'm not a corporate girl. I am not a. I have made a commitment to not be a corporate person. I've become a reverend, and I feel that you can do what you love and thrive. I really believe that in my heart, and I've seen it happen. And I'm doing what I love, and I am. There are some tough moments because and it's. But the bottom line is that the beauty that I experience, the absolute, the incredible people that I end up meeting, people like yourself and everybody else, and the opportunity that I have been given to share the information, so that other people are able to find what makes their heart beat, is so important. And this is what you do. I mean, I'm sitting here and I listen to you, and you light up when you start talking. This is what it's about. This is when you do what you love, everything else comes together. And that's the message. That's one of my greatest messages, I think, that I could ever want to offer anyone is that, when you're waking up in the morning and you're thinking to myself, oh gosh, I gotta go do this, and then you're thinking about, oh, but I really want to, and you want to go somewhere, you want to do something really special. Listen to that. There may be a way that you can figure out that you can go and actually do that. There may be people who are very interested in gardening, who would really like to be doing that, but they're a little bit afraid of letting go of all that other stuff. And the truth is that once you start letting go of that, all of a sudden there's such a freedom that everything else really does start to work out.
It's funny that you say that. I just had an opportunity with GreenDreams to go to a farmer's market,
right?
In USF. USF started having like a monthly farmer's market. We've been 2 times.
Right.
And we had some plants that we brought with us, some strawberry and I think some lettuces. And so these young college students would walk by, and one girl said to me, and she said it more to her boyfriend, she said, oh, I can't plant that. I'm afraid I'm going to kill it. I have a black thumb. And I said to her, don't be afraid. The plant just wants to grow. Just give it what it needs, and it'll grow on its own.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about it. That's, to me, gardening has brought me so much joy. And the more I go out in my garden in the morning and I water and I see things develop, I gave it, just a little bit of what it needed, but it's growing, it's developing, it's doing its own thing, it's independent of me. Right. But we're connected because at some point I'm going to eat it. Yes.
Well, and here's the other thing too. I think that it's the emotional, the therapeutic side of this. I had Chris Rattler from the veteran. What was it? Veterans Farm. It's called. And this is a program where the vets who come back from the wars. They actually bring people in and they work with them on the farm, and what they do is they help them to get started again, and it's been a proven fact that gardening can be a very positive, extremely therapeutic tool to release PTSD and other emotional issues. And so this is I mean, there's just nothing that feels greater than to get out there and to watch your plants grow, to get your fingers dirty, to get a little sweaty, to, you know, just to be out there and be a part of.
Well, there's scientific evidence too. There's bacteria
Yes.
in the soil that when you put your hands in the soil, this bacteria releases chemicals that help make you more happy. So
Look at that.
going again to
Sunshine
this
chemical-
idea,
sunshine
going on
chemicals.
to this idea that we are an ecosystem, and when we're inhabiting our land, and we're inhabiting our ecosystem in the right way, we're happy, we're joyful, and we're abundant. Around my home, there's broccoli and nasturtium and squash, watermelon, several different varieties of trees. I have an abundance of food all around in my front yard. I developed my front yard specifically to share it, because I don't care. I
cool.
don't have any fences around my house. It's all out there. And I get so many people when they walk by, because I'll be out there watering or I'll be out there doing something, and I get people walk by and they'll say, "Oh, I've been watching your broccoli grow for the past couple months, walking by every day. Oh, it looks so beautiful,
Look at the
and all the
therapeutic.
flowers." So, like, me doing this little thing in my front yard has changed several people in my neighborhood. And they're starting to see, and my next door neighbor started a garden.
Oh, how cool is that?
So it's
doing the same
spreading.
thing in the front?
No.
Not yet.
See, I'm kind of out there. I know I'm on a
I
fringe
love it.
still, but
No, but that's the key is
Yeah.
that you're out there. But I think this is really important
Well,
that we talk about
yeah.
this, is that you're following your dream, you're listening to your heart, and you're allowing yourself to be the person that you're here to be. I think that's really important, because this has been something that our world has, I think this is where part of our problem is that people aren't allowing themselves to be who they really want to be. Don't let the TV dictate what is right for you, because I know deep down inside there are things that you love to do. Every person out there has
Most
something.
definitely.
And it's so follow your heart. Follow your
Follow
heart.
your intuition too.
Absolutely.
It comes. I think I posted a quote. I think it was yesterday. At first, I was clever, so I tried to change the world, and then I became wise, and I changed myself.
It's an inside job.
It is.
It really is about.
It's
an
all
inside
about
job.
changing yourself.
Because what happens is people see how you change.
And just going back to relating to Jim Kovaleski, he's inspired dozens and hundreds of people. He was written about in St. Pete Times, and he got to fly all the way over to Italy for a slow food convention. He got everything paid for. He was going because he did something that no one else did. He really followed his intuition and his love of gardening, and he developed something that other people appreciated, and other people went to him to learn. And so I have seen it in my own life as I slowly, over the past couple of years, really focus on Green community. I mean, I love restaurant work. I love food. I love serving people. I think my whole life is about serving people.
Exactly.
And to me, it's Green community is an extension of that. I'm trying to serve the whole Tampa Bay. I love every human being I've ever met through the process of this. And because of it, jobs have come to me. Land has come to me, plants, resources, everything has flown to me, and I haven't had to go out and seek it. It's come to me, which is really extraordinary, because I remember getting a couple of years back, my mom, she watches Oprah all the time, and she got The Secret book.
Oh yes.
And the law of attraction. Coming from this background, I really didn't have this shift yet. I was still going to school for chemistry and biology, and I was like, oh, that's just hogwash. You can't just think about stuff and intend them and things will flow to you. But you start to see it. When you when you don't focus on the world, when you focus on yourself and you focus
Stay
on
right
what
in the
you
moment,
love.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. Right in the moment.
It really is. Because when you're not in the moment, what happens is you start drawing from the past or the future, and then all of a sudden you have fear and you have anxiety. And that's the key. So if you can find a place where you can be just quiet and see everything, and sometimes the easiest thing to do is to take a look at absolutely everything that's right there in front of you and around you. It's like I look at this microphone and I say, thank you for this microphone, and thank you for Tim in the studio and everything that he does, because we wouldn't be here without that. And you know, likewise, Facebook, I'm grateful for Facebook because I would never have met you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's these absolutely wonderful things that and it's about being right here,
Most definitely.
present, absolutely.
And so I have been taking these YouTubes for the past couple of years, and I've been sitting and contemplating about our economy. You know, we're still, they say that we're recovering, but I still think we're in a recession or possibly even a depression when it comes to looking at the basic hard facts. When you look at the economy, the inflation rate is somewhere around 9%. So that means that everything, all of the cost of living is going up, but the wages are stagnating. And so people are having a more and more difficult time living and surviving.
Exactly.
And we don't need to just survive. We need to thrive.
That's right.
Just like that movie, you know, even in my garden, that plant is not, I don't want it to survive. I want it to thrive and give me abundance. And by it giving me abundance, I am more abundant.
Exactly.
And so we feed off of each other too. In that new paradigm, someone else having more is okay. It's not envy, it's not greed. What they're doing, and if they succeed, you should be grateful for that. You know, you should be appreciative that they're succeeding and that they're developing. And so I feel like I've learned this over and over. I've had to slam my head against the wall almost, learning about how I can't have my emotions inflict how I feel and look at the world. It's really about choosing the emotions that I want in my own mind. And so going back to the Kickstarter, I want to develop a documentary of how we can interconnect everything. There's a permaculture flower. If you ever studied permaculture, they broke up.
I have that flower.
Okay,
yes.
awesome.
Yes.
They broke it up. At the very center, it's ethics and principles. So you use your ethics and principles of permaculture, and you utilize them in different domains within the permaculture. And it has this symbology of a flower. So you have your land and nature stewardship, your built environment, tools and technology, culture and education, health and spiritual well-being, financial and economics, and community governance and land tenure.
Mm-hmm.
And all these interconnected can build, I don't even want to call it a green economy, a thriving economy.
Thriving, it is.
If we really design these different elements and interconnect them and integrate them rather than segregating it. In our culture, we kind of like specialize really a lot. We don't see the interconnections, and by overly specializing, we don't develop a wholeness. So you can be really specialized in medical psychology or whatever, but you might not be very healthy as an individual. So having a well-rounded economy is very essential.
It is.
And I want to document how we can change each one of these domains and create a thriving economy. How can we have, there's so much work to do. Don't tell me that there's no jobs in Tampa Bay. There's so much work to do.
It drives me nuts because we could be feeding the entire state of Florida.
Oh yeah.
Without trucking, shipping,
most definitely.
Absolutely, and we could do that in maybe 1/10 of the space of the entire state of Florida.
And especially with the technologies like aquaponics, where you're using that symbiogy of having different ecosystems working together. You have the fish and the bacteria, which are eating the fish nutrients, and that bacteria nutrients are adding to the fertility of the plants. And by integrating all three aspects, you actually have a thriving system. And so one of my YouTubes, I went up to Green Acres. is that right? Green Acres Farm up north.
That's
Green
ringing
Acres
a bell.
Organic.
Yes.
So they are
Are they in
aquaponics.
Gainesville?
Brooksville.
Okay. Yep.
And they have a commercial aquaponics system where they're
Mhm.
raising thousands of pounds of food and thousands of pounds of tilapia.
That's
And they're
wonderful.
expanding. They're actually adding because the thriving. Once you set up a system and it's thriving, you have this abundance. And then what do you do with that abundance? Well, you reinvest it in the things that gave you that abundance.
Exactly.
So going back to permaculture, we have 3 ethics that are the core of permaculture. When you use permaculture, you're designing systems and you're utilizing these ethics. The first one is care of the earth.
Mhm.
So every single animal, fungus, bacteria, everything on this planet has an intrinsic value. And then the second one is care of people. Every single human being on this planet has an intrinsic value, meaning it has a value for the sake of being. That's what intrinsic implies. So every animal and every human being has a value on this planet. And we have to design our systems to revolve around that. And then third ethic is fair share. And it's all about sharing the abundance
Exactly.
that come out of using those relationships and using those designs to make more of it.
Okay, we're going to talk more about that.
Okay.
We're going to take just a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Go move cars. And then we're going to come back and let's talk more about that. And then, well, we'll talk anyway. I just want to note that you are listening to www.rhinoonair.com. This is arts. Let me do this right. From the arts to the people. Now, this is an amazing radio station because it is local here in St. Pete, located at 657 Central Avenue. We do talk radio all day long, but at 7 o'clock or so, all of this disappears and we become a recording studio. And we do everything from recording to videos, all of that.
Cool.
So they're available, and Rhino on Air plays only local indie artists. If you're from the Florida area, this is great. I have an absolutely amazing man coming up. His name is Reggie Williams, and I just am absolutely in love with this guy. He's 22 years old, and he just sings from his soul. He's an amazing guy. So now I have 2 of my favorite people, and I have another one coming up, I hope, shortly anyway. And I do want to thank our sponsor today, who is Pura Vida Wellness Spa, which is located over in Pinellas Park on 4930 Park Boulevard. If you'd like to go see them and set up a yoga session or get a little colon therapy or whatever you would like to do, the web address is www.myyogavita.com. And this is Shift Happens Radio, and my name is Elle, and this is Eric Stewart from Code Green Communities. If you'll give them just a quick web address so that they can connect with you.
Sure. www.codegreencommunity.com.
Great.
And I'll take you to the website, and there's a link to the Kickstarter. You can watch the video. I posted a video about it too.
Very cool. Okay, we'll be back just in about 5 minutes or so. And thanks for listening to rhinoonair.com. We'll be right back. Hey folks, we're back again. You are listening to Rhino on Air. That's Rhino, www.rhinoonair.com. And Rhino on Air is from the arts to the people. And if you're looking for an opportunity to be heard, if you are a local person from St. Pete, Florida, or in the Florida area and would like a little more exposure and have work, or maybe want to come in and do your own recording session, you are more than welcome to give us a call. The studio line, because I want to open up the studio line today for the next hour so that people can ask questions. This is, I kind of am going around in circles here. My apologies. This is the Shift Happens radio show on Rhino on Air. My name is Elle, and I have Eric Stewart as my guest today. And we are talking about permaculture. We're talking about growing green. We're talking about thinking green. We're talking about the whole permaculture mindset.
Paradigm shifts.
Paradigm shifts. Yes, paradigm shifts. We're going to open the studio lines, and just so that you know the number, it's 727-388-4777. should you have any kind of questions that you would like to ask Eric. The number once again is 727-388-4777, and you are more than welcome to give us a call and ask Eric any kind of questions. So we were talking permaculture, and we were talking about the Kickstarter.
Yes.
And the Kickstarter is, you had 3 purposes or 3 elements to it. Let's kind of just briefly go over that, and
Sure.
then let's.
Well, I've been developing this website. It's an online social networking site where people can post blogs, post videos, photos. So there's like 800 photos of people's gardens and what they're doing around their home. And that rocket stove that you mentioned. There's hundreds, like I think 400 blogs that people have written throughout the past 4 years. There's over 400 videos, and they range from 5 minutes to an hour-long, full-length, feature-length documentaries. And I have posted, and everyone else has posted all this stuff, and we're just commingling. We're all interconnecting with each other. And there's different apps on the website, like there's a member map where you can find where people in the Tampa Bay are, and you can individually message them. So if you have someone in your neighborhood, you can find them if they're in the green mindset.
And this is great, so that if you want to start up, but you really don't know how, and you really want to see somebody who's just started from nothing and is doing it, this is a great opportunity for people to learn this.
And it's all about creating groups of people that are local.
Community. Absolutely.
Code Green community.
Yes. Well, and this is really very important because the reality is that we have all become so distanced.
Yeah.
Even though we live side by side, we're glued to the media. And I love Facebook and I love all of that. And it's a wonderful thing. However, it still creates a separation.
Yeah.
And so there are very big pluses to it, but we as individuals really need to, in order to thrive, again, here's that great word again, we need to be able to be face to face with people and hug them and touch them and talk to them and interact with them and share ideas, because this is what makes you feel good. This is what makes a difference, well, for most people. Yeah.
And so the online website, that's part of the Kickstarter. And then the primary part of the Kickstarter is the development of this documentary. So like I mentioned, I've been bootstrapping the website using tips from my job. And I have only a decent camera. It does okay, but I really would like to get a documentary style camera that can have a really good audio, really good visual, good lighting. And that requires some significant investment of capital. So I did this Kickstarter where not one person needs to give me all that money, but hundreds and thousands of people can crowdfund to create.
I love it.
Yeah, and I also, the documentary would be utilized to continue the YouTubes. So I'd get this equipment for the documentary, and I would complete the documentary, and I would continue to do over 100 plus YouTubes. So I think I've done 54, 55 YouTubes.
Okay, so let's do this though. So for people who are thinking, okay, well, what the heck is this? Okay,
Sure.
So let's explain a little bit more what your intentions are with the documentary. Okay, so that people understand what they're, and then I'm thinking that maybe people will be even more willing.
Most definitely. So the documentary, the name of the documentary is going to be The Tampa Bay Green Living Economy.
Okay.
For the past 4 years, I've been connecting with people, and I want to connect the individual people that are in the Tampa Bay community, as well as different ideas of what we can implement and integrate to create a green living economy. And when I say green living economy, I mean an economy that takes care of people, first and foremost, takes care of the planet, and shares the abundance equally. So you don't have this great distortion of people getting enormous amounts of excess money, and then some people are starving.
Yes.
And then also this idea is to integrate other people. So I have on my flyer here, I was sharing with you earlier, so we're going to talk about organic farms, aquaponics, earthship, energy efficiency, how we can create biofuels in the Tampa Bay area, how we can do 3D manufacturing, bring back manufacturing to the Tampa Bay area,
Absolutely.
local manufacturing. open source education. So one of the big things here, if we actually have a glut of educated people. I mean, excuse me, we have a deficiency of educated people in the skills that we need for the future. So if we can open source education and make education readily available to people, then they can transfer and learn new skills really easily and implement them into this new green living economy.
Mm-hmm.
Proactive health. Again, going back to this idea that we are an ecosystem.
Yes.
So taking good care of your health and being mindful and being conscious and really focusing on not attacking bacteria and organisms, but adding and being probiotic. It's
Yes.
not about taking away something or destroying something. It's about being in harmony.
Exactly.
And being,
There's a balance.
exactly.
Right.
And then moving forward, we have the idea of cooperative businesses.
Mm-hmm.
That right now we have this corporate structure, which again is a pyramid shape, where you have CEOs and a board of directors that control the whole edifice of this corporation. What if we could have a cooperative business where every single person in the business is an owner and a manager of that business? So you might still have individual managers that kind of are leaders of the business, but they wouldn't be getting a disproportionate amount of money compared to that.
Exactly.
And everyone would have a say in the business. It would be more democratic, and it would be more beneficial, because when you have ownership of a business, you're going to work harder, because you know the harder you work, the more profits will be generated, and the more profits that are generated means you're going to reap the benefits. It's not just going to be the CEO, it's going to be all of the people that work with you. And again, the next one is time bank. So we were talking about Marie Nelson in the break.
And we really need to talk about
I'll
this
talk
for a
about it
couple
right
minutes.
now.
Yes.
I took my permaculture design course in 2011, and
Mhm.
Marie Nelson was in my permaculture design course. So for anyone that doesn't know, permaculture design is a scientific design of creating human habitats to create a permanent culture. This idea that we have a temporary culture, we have a consumer culture that we just consume and then we throw away, and we
Right.
consume and we throw away. Well, could we create a permanent culture where everything is built so that there's permanence in mind? And we took this permaculture design course with Corey Brennan and the Permaculture Guild out of St. Petersburg.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 72-hour course. And the 72-hour course covered all the different domains in the permaculture flower, like I just kind of went over. And it talked about changing that paradigm, changing it from the ground up in our minds, and using our permaculture ethics and our principles to design things differently.
Exactly.
So one thing, Marie Nelson has gravitated towards the financial and economics. So you don't necessarily, if you're a permaculture designer, need to be a gardener. There's
Right.
so many other niches in the
Right.
ecosystem of economy. And the ecosystem of economy, we need to fill those niches.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing is, there's always a deficiency of money.
Exactly.
We don't have the money to get things done, but we have the time. So why can't we transfer time for time, and utilize time as a currency? And so this idea of the time bank that's been successful in several different cities, where I can donate my time to you, and then you donate your time to either me or to someone else, and we share it as a currency. And Marie Nelson has been working with several other people on creating this time bank, the Tampa Bay Time Bank. And they're actually partnering with us on this Kickstarter to help spread the Kickstarter.
So it's one of your sponsors?
Yes, yes.
She's wonderful. Everything that I read about her.
Oh, we became close friends during the design
Pretty
course.
fast, didn't you? So they're doing something that I think is really huge right now.
Mhm.
And they are offering a 2-hour, you get 2 hours of time bank time.
Yeah.
If you transfer your your bank account from a large bank to a locally owned bank. So folks, I want you to really hear this loud and clear if you haven't heard it yet. Tampa Bay Time Bank, correct?
Yes.
Is offering 2 hours of time bank time to you if you will physically remove your money from a large corporate bank to a locally owned bank here in the Tampa Bay area.
Or credit union, yeah.
Or credit union, and yes, let me make sure that we put that in there. So what an absolutely wonderful
Yeah. And going back,
means of actually opening the door also for people who may not be aware of the time bank or the permaculture mindset as well. So this is an absolutely perfect way to be a part of and become part of. Yes.
and then so going to the time bank, this idea of the ecosystem again and interrelating. If you put your money into a bank account, the way that the bank system works is a fractional reserve system.
Right.
So your money is used to create new debt. So they use what they have on their books in their deposit, and they use that to leverage it and create more debt. And they can only create a certain amount. So there used to be where you could only get maybe 9 times out of the amount, but some of our corporate banks, they're putting out 40 times the amount of debt that they have on reserve. So what happens if there's ever a run on the bank, they're never going to have enough money in the bank account to physically give people back all of their money. And that's why we had the FDIC, that's why we had all of that dilemma in the 1914s and 1920s with the Great Depression, was because there was a run on the banks and people were taking in money out of their bank accounts. I guess A Christmas Story, that's a perfect example of that.
Exactly.
And so this idea is if we go towards local small community banks, these banks are going to manage their resources much more efficiently than a huge corporation. They're going to invest that money and only give loans to local businesses. If you put your money into a big corporate bank, they're going to be loaning that money to a huge project that might be destroying a rainforest in South America. Or they might be giving their money towards destroying a mountaintop for coal to be removed, or the tar sands in Alberta. So really focusing where your money goes changes everything. Because let's face it, we live in a money economy for the time being.
And we want a bank who wants to keep the money right here so that we all are actually abundant as a direct result of it.
So we can thrive.
Yes, and that is it. And this is, and we are so imbalanced right now. Mm-hmm. Throughout our world. I mean, if there's just an excess on one side for if you were to take this and do molecules, I mean, they are probably a nanomolecule in comparison to everything else in the world. I mean, it's just, and so we need a balance. We need a balance. There's no reason why we all can't be that abundant. And so here again is I can't get back and focus enough on the fact that abundance is a state of mind. That abundance is you can do things to help yourself now, to help feel better about yourself by doing specific things. Get outside, get your fingers dirty, go out and connect with your friends, go listen to some music. Talk to people about, I'm not comfortable with where I am. What can I do? What are you doing? Keep your eyes open. There are people who are out there who are already of the permaculture lifestyle mindset, and you know, you don't have to make an absolutely incredible change with one decision.
May I add?
Yes.
Well, I teach permaculture. I teach introduction to permaculture. And one of the first things I go into it, I say to people, industrial culture is unsustainable. It is going to collapse. The way that the industrial society works is through exploitation and extraction. We extract resources and we exploit. That's where we get that pyramidal structure. Everything is coming from the bottom up and then being extracted and exploited towards the top. So what we need to focus on is regeneration. We need to heal ourselves. We need to heal our planet. And that's a lot of work. Let's face it, there's a lot of work to be done.
However, if each person made a choice themselves and made a conscious choice to become more conscious, to become more aware of themselves and how they feel. I mean, if it takes every single bit of energy for you to turn around and have enough to, excuse me, to get up and go to that job. Maybe there's something about that job that doesn't resonate with you, and maybe it's time to look for another option. And we can say all we want, and as far as jobs go, and I'm going to leave that all out in that cloud by itself. But the truth is that you can find what you're looking for, I think, if you really want to. Don't you think?
Most definitely. There's a famous, that one of the founders of permaculture, his name is Bill Mollison. So he has a lot of Mollison quotes.
Okay.
And one of the Mollison quotes is, start from your nose and you work your way outwards.
There
and
you go.
In permaculture, we have this idea of zones. So you have zone 0, zone 1, zone 2, and you design from the very beginning of where you are outwards. And this idea is you when you're designing and you're implementing this, you're thinking about energy and the flows of where does your money come from, where do your resources come from. And so we put these together, we have this idea, this model that we can use to regenerate the world. And when you regenerate, just like I was saying with my garden, when you allow other things to thrive, you thrive as well.
Exactly.
So we're creating a positive feedback cycle that helps everybody. So the highest form of being selfish is altruism.
Right.
When you help the community grows and you grow.
Crea Romanelli is a friend of mine, and she literally had a couple of $100 in her bank, in her savings account, and she took that money out and she went out and she created some gardens here in St. Pete.
Nice.
Because she felt like she needed to do it. And I see this happen a lot with a lot of people, and it's just an amazing, amazing thing. I have a tickle, and I have no water.
Well, just the last little bit for this Kickstarter for the documentary, I'm going to bring up this idea of transition towns.
Okay.
You can get into a group of people and you can form a community in your own town. And there's one here in St. Petersburg, a transition town. And I formed one up in Newport Richie. But the idea that you can come together and transition your town away from fossil fuels.
Yes.
So I'm going to bring that up in the documentary, as well as Occupy Wall Street. I really feel one of the principles in permaculture is creatively use and respond to change. And when Occupy Wall Street occurred, and I saw the Occupy Tampa, I was there.
Right.
I had my camera, I had signs, I was over at Occupy Tampa, I met you over there.
Absolutely.
And the energy that was resonating, I don't know if you felt it, but I felt so
Absolutely.
alive when people were out and we were all listening to one person speak about their grievances and their vision. And we don't get to do that often enough.
Right.
Often enough, we're like ants in a colony, just driving by each other, and we're not conversating. So just to sit and to listen and to reverberate what one person is saying, that's very energetic. And I think the energy is dissipating, but I think it all comes back in waves and crests.
Right, exactly.
So I believe that we're going to see American Spring, and it's going to be the things that gone wrong in the economy, they're not fixed. And they're getting worse. And like you said, Goldman Sachs executive just came out.
And
things are going to blow up. And I don't mean in a bad way. I think they're going to blow up as far as consciousness. And we're going to see more involvement with Occupy Wall Street. And I personally hope that more and more productive and more regenerative things are going to be implemented, because that's where it's at. That's the economy we want. We want to create a regenerative economy that heals people. Because there's, like I mentioned, there's a big spiritual war right now. And this spiritual war has grown into the material world. You know, we are sick because we're not spiritually in line with what's going on. And every time we're forcing ourselves and not working with nature.
We're disconnected from our own selves also, I believe. And I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted you there. But the people are not connected with their own selves. And the more time you spend looking at TV and the more time that you identify through that screen rather than how you are feeling yourself, then you are going to be less affected. You're not going to notice what's going on. And then all of a sudden, when that TV doesn't turn on anymore, then all of a sudden it's going to be a major shock, and what are you going to do then? So I really feel that this is the time. I really feel that we're going to be seeing some extreme
volatility.
Yes, by the end of May. I think we will see
Well, life
in the
goes
banking
on.
system.
You know, things are going to change, and as a permaculturist, in my mindset, you have to creatively use and respond to that
Exactly.
change. So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of the Mayan calendar or doomsday.
Well, there's
'cause
nothing
that's
wrong
fear.
with the Mayan calendar. They're
Well,
creating this thing about it
let
that
me-
is.
Um, when you exert your energy and you're exerting it towards fear, you're not allowing the love and the intelligence that's all around you. One of the things that I learned in biology is life is incredibly intelligent. There's so much things that are going on in your body that you don't have to control. It's intelligently doing it all on its own. And so if we allow that intelligence to work through us, that inner guidance, then beautiful things can happen. And I would like to see a renaissance. I specifically say it when I have this right here, Tampa Bay Green Renaissance. We need a renaissance, a rebirth of our culture. So we're either going to have a collapse, like they all try and say, where that fear overrides us, or we're going to have a reboot. You know, you turn on your computer and it doesn't work good, well, you reboot it. And then you let it defrag and you clean it out a little bit, you throw out the bad stuff and you reboot it and you run the programs that are doing good. And you make sure you get all the bad stuff out. And that's what we need to do. We need to reboot our economy. We need to get out all that bad stuff and the bad, materialistic, egocentric, patriarchy. This whole concept of industrial civilization needs to change. We need to reboot it and rethink
it has to be removed.
It will be removed on the effect of evolution happens. Just like compost happens, evolution.
There you go, compost happens. Yep.
Things are going to happen, and we just have to creatively respond to it.
Right.
And we, as a community, we can interconnect, and we can live that through the resources and the tools that we have available to us right now. So right now, we're living in this pivotal time that things could go either way. But we, individuals, and we as community can change everything.
Right. And that's, I think there's a couple of things that you said that are very key. And it is we, first of all, community. It's like-minded people, and we need each other.
Most definitely.
I think that's where the separation has created. That's where part of the problem is that we have become so separated.
We're united people.
Yes. You know what was interesting? I saw a picture on an email somebody sent me, and here was this little child, and I mean, she couldn't have been not even, maybe close to 2 years old, and she was sitting on her little potty, and she had a computer, a laptop sitting right there in front of her, and she was on the laptop while she was using, and little ones are learning to not be connected at a very young age. And so we need to change that. We need to, you said two things, and that is that about love and fear. And here's the reality is that fear is the opposite of love. That's it. And fear means those words, those false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And that's it. So don't necessarily listen to what's on TV. Check your resources. Check where it comes from. Follow the money. That's where the real truth will be.
Oh yeah.
And so you need to get out there. You need to follow the money. And the other thing you need to do is go knock on your neighbor's door and say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know all my neighbors around my house.
Well, and you're a
And they
little
know
bit
me.
more. You're a little more rural than
No, it's
some
suburbs.
of us. Is it suburbs?
Yeah,
well,
it's
well,
not urbanized, but it's suburbs.
We're downtown,
It's all been concreted. It used to be pasture land, trust me.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
I
I
mean,
haven't been up there in a
one
while.
of the biggest economy drivers in Pasco County was construction. And when the financing went away, so did the construction. So there's a huge amount of unemployment in Pasco County. And all the cities and the county, they're all having budget overruns. I mean, the cities and the municipalities, that's who I worry about. If we can't get things accomplished at the city level, then things aren't going to change. So we have to integrate ourselves into the city. So I initiated a transition town. I also initiated an Occupy Newport Richie in my town.
I noticed that,
and
yes.
the transition town has kind of merged into the Occupy. We have like a segment of a permaculture working group. We've been starting a community garden. We've been working with the environmental board. We have an environmental board in Newport Richey. So we're integrating rather than segregating ourselves from the city. We are the city.
Right.
We have forgotten that we're a united people. We kind
That's
of
what
divide ourselves with the
Yes.
media. They make us afraid. But
Well, it's the duality of things, and you know, you've got the Republican, you've got the Democrat Party. Well, here's the truth: if you
they're
really
both the
went
same
in,
thing.
exactly, it's exactly the same thing, and it's only that perception, it's that illusion that's put out there. So there's good, there's bad, there's negative, there's positive, whatever you want to. The bottom line is it's there to create that division. So the bottom line is that if you as an individual really want to make a change in your life, the first thing you do is stop and take a look at yourself and say, I am.
Yeah.
You know, because I am that I am. And if
Yeah.
you say that a few times every morning, I am that I am, it can change your life. And my friend Irene, thank you for that message.
That's a great message.
It really is, because it is up to us. We are what make the world go round. And we, you know, I love that song, people make the world go round. And it's the truth. And we all, I believe, have come to a point where many people don't really believe in themselves anymore. And so if you take a few minutes and start really looking at yourself, start thinking about what you really love. Turn the TV off for a few minutes, and maybe not just for a few minutes. I don't own a TV anymore. Turn it off and only watch, you know, allow yourself to watch only specific times during the day, and allow yourself to get out there and to know people and to know your community, to get to know the people, even the people that you work with. Sometimes it's like, maybe it can make your job, going to your job, a little easier, and if it isn't, then maybe there's an option, an opportunity to do something else other than. I don't know. I mean, I know that unemployment is very high everywhere, but we could do more community gardens. We could all start working together as units, as smaller communities, and start creating so that we can really help people. I mean, it's...
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of I have a friend who lives up in New York, New Jersey area, and he does music and he does rap videos. And one of his things is end civilization. We need to end industrial civilization and rewild. And when he talks about rewilding,
I love it.
he's talking about rewilding with nature, reconnecting
Yes.
with nature. And he says also, end civ or die. When I got into this, I was afraid. I was in college and I was learning about the environmental problems that we're facing.
Exactly.
Like, I have had to defend the idea of climate change so many times. But it's not even climate change, it's ocean acidity.
Yeah.
I mean, our oceans are getting more acidic. We're losing less and less Arctic ice on the top of our planet. And things are changing and they're shifting. And it's not about, we can't probably change it and revert it back to its old way. We're going to have to deal with the repercussions. We're in a predicament. We're going to have only a few options. We're not in like a problem where we can solve it and go back to the old way.
Right.
We're in a predicament where we're going to have to live in new situations. And
Yes.
so I have learned over the past couple of years that it's not about fearing the future. It's about living in it and embracing it and just realizing that I am what I am.
Yes. Well, and if you get to the point where you can allow yourself to stay right in the moment and not into what's going to happen and how much money am I going to make in the future, and look at yourself and allow yourself to feel that peace and that calm, which is what, I mean, that's what happens when you get in the moment.
Yeah.
And then you have the opportunity to change your own life. And once you allow yourself to change your own life, everything around you starts to change. And this is my experience. I do know this for a fact. And no matter
My
what
experience
else is going on, you know, and there are people who don't really want you to, and that's their problem. And that's, you love them and let them go, you know, but the point is that love yourself enough to be conscious enough, to be in the moment enough, to allow yourself to be the person that I honestly came here to be. And whether you want to argue the point with me or not, anyone out there in listening land, we all came here having a specific purpose. We are here. And I really feel that we are here to help change our world. I mean, right here, right now. And we can do that. There are things you could stop using your credit cards. If you really want to change the banking system, stop using your credit.
Get out of debt. Get out of debt.
Yes.
Don't be in debt. And change your
let
bank
it
account.
go. Yep. Whatever the case may be, I mean, whatever you can afford to do. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah.
I'm very hopeful because there's 7 billion people on this planet. And out of that 7 billion, about half are under the age of 30.
There we go.
It's the millennial generation, my generation. I'm 27 years old.
Okay.
It's the people that are under 30, around that age, that are going to change everything.
Yes.
Because we've grown up. I had a computer when I was 8 years old. I was
Yes.
on the internet by the time I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
Glued to the internet, probably not a good thing.
Yeah. But look what happened, though. I mean, it expanded your mind also.
Yes.
So let's hope that it
Yes.
expands other people's minds as much as it has for you. I mean, this
And
is like
the
amazing.
beautiful thing about this is the when I really think about it, ignorance is the hardest challenge, and you're only as ignorant as you want to be in the age of Google and Bing and Yahoo. You can
Right.
find and you can experience new things every single day with the
Right.
internet. It's a beautiful tool. It's just a tool. It is not the... I look at Code Green Community, and the power could go out tomorrow, and the whole thing could go out kapooey. But the relationships that I've made in real world and the information that I've spread can hopefully last. And so
Exactly.
the internet is a tool that we can utilize to change the world. And it's happened already. There was this viral video that got passed around on Facebook, Coney 2012. And it was just emotional, and it was exhilarating, and people spread it like wildfire.
Yes, and I'm glad that you posted what you posted. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that we should really talk
Oh,
about.
well, in Coney 2012, again, this paradigm shift. Okay, there's an evil force. We need to go out and eliminate it. Just like we need to eliminate a disease in our body.
Right.
Well, the disease was caused because we were what we were. There was colonialism going on for hundreds of years, and in the 1960s, 70s, we gave, through the IMF and World Bank, an excessive amount of debt and loans to these African countries.
Absolutely.
And what occurred is there were resource wars, and these wars were caused because there's extraction model. We
Exactly.
are what we are, and until we change this extractive model and start regenerating, we can't change Africa. And in all honesty, Africa has to change itself. America can't change Africa. America needs to change itself. There are so many homeless and hungry children right now who
Right.
don't have families. We need to take care of our families and our homes and our land. We need to be mindful of our land and our bioregion. So Tampa Bay is a bioregion. St. Petersburg, it gets its water from Pasco. You're drinking water that came from my county.
Isn't
And
that
you're getting
interesting?
electricity. We're swapping electricity back and forth.
Right.
So we're interconnected. But we are somewhat connected to Africa, but they're more interconnected and their relationships are closer. So Africa has a challenge. It does, because of the colonialism that's happened. But Africa needs to take care of itself. And we need to take care of ourselves, first and foremost.
There's so many, I mean, it's time to have the jobs here, not out everywhere else. I mean, the bottom line is that if there were a divine principal entity that could take shape and force now, where we had many more from Goldman Sachs and Google that would literally say it's time to bring us back home.
Yeah.
And start
no more military
ethically.
interventions.
And we have no business. The military is there to control its world domination.
And that's what the video was about.
Yes,
Coney 2012 was for you to call up your senators and your congressmen and get them to have more military intervention.
Exactly.
And that is wrong. I
Yes.
feel we need to completely wipe away this idea that we are the global police. And
it's none of our business what people do on another continent.
No.
It is none of our business.
And they use our emotions and the fact that we do love other human beings, the
Yes.
fact that we care for those African
We're
children,
being manipulated.
and for alternative agenda. And
Right.
they've done it with Libya.
Yes.
I mean, there's
This whole Iran conflict is.
Iran.
This is. If I could really get into this.
Oh yeah, we could.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
the key is to change our economy here locally.
And we have
If
to
we don't
change us
need the
here.
fossil fuels, we won't get them from OPEC, which is an oil cartel that
Yes.
uses their political, social monarchies and dictatorships. Why are we supporting these people? Let me tell you something. Your gasoline-powered car, about 20% of it gets used to actually move your vehicle. The other 80% gets dissipated as heat. We are wasting, we're burning resources left and right. And if we just changed our design, if we changed how we think and how we engineer our society, we could radically use less resources. We wouldn't be dependent on these OPEC countries and this foreign fossil fuels. I mean, let's face it, oil is going to be around in our economy for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but we can use it efficiently and we can eliminate the need from outside sources.
Well, and here's a reality, if I say this right. And it's going to There's a gentleman who actually invented a machine that you could run your own vehicle on. The truth is that anytime there's anything that does not rely on what we are currently using, whether it's electrical or oil, gasoline, whatever the resource, if it offers us the opportunity to do it for free, there will not be any change. They will take that invention and that concept and they will destroy the person, and that has happened and that has been recently happened. So here's what I thought was absolutely ingenious is a gentleman shared his invention on Facebook and said, take this and use it instead of patenting it.
Open source.
Absolutely, and this I think is very important.
Yes.
Is to be open sourced about everything.
Yes, be transparent
As
and open and
the
share.
real transparency.
Share.
The real transparency.
Yes.
Open and share and be for humanity.
Yes.
Not for the almighty dollar, but for humanity, for the universe, for the earth, because that's what this is all about. That's why we are here. I really truly believe that. Yeah, and so if you have, this is what I've learned is that back in the actual concept of prohibition actually was started so that people would not be able to have access to the alcohol, not because of the consumption of it personally, but you could use the alcohol to run your vehicles.
Yeah.
People don't realize this. Prohibition was all a joke. It wasn't a joke, and I take that back. But it was used to control the amounts of alcohol so that you couldn't use it to run your vehicles, and that's that simple. There's
going
many
back-
other things.
As
Yes.
a human being, I'm incredibly curious, and I look at anthropology.
You have 9 minutes.
9 minutes, okay.
Yes.
I look at anthropology and sociology, and the people who have control over our economy, and there are people that control our economy.
Mm-hmm.
You can say you have freedom in this country, but it's not quite there yet. We still have to fight for freedom. We still have to fight for liberty. It is a never-ending struggle. It's
Right.
not just going to be instantaneous either. It's going to be a work in progress. So anyways, in the past 100 years, they have used propaganda, sociology, all of the human sciences to learn how to manipulate human beings to do what they want. So we
Turn
got
the
to
TV
retake
on
the power
and
back.
watch exactly what you see on TV. It's in there.
Most definitely.
And we do have to take the power back.
Take the power back.
And it is about becoming conscious. It is about making conscious choices.
Mhm.
And when you decide to do things, even though it might take a little bit of time, think about the actual outcome for humanity.
Yeah.
Go a little bit beyond just the realm of yourself and think about whether you have children or not. Think about the children that are coming. This is key. This is so very, very important. Start
idea of 7
learning.
generations.
Yes, exactly. So we have about, I'm looking at time-wise, we have about 8 minutes, 8 minutes, he says, 8 minutes to go. And so I'm thinking that what would you say if there was something that you really felt you really wanted to remind
Sure.
everybody and say, so that we want to get your website out there,
Okay,
but besides that,
Okay, yeah, I have it in my mind right
go
now.
for it.
You touched on it. Uh-oh. Oh,
That's
it's just
all right.
something burning. You touched on it, this idea of I am what I am. The highest form of selfishness is altruism, because we are the earth.
Yes.
We are the entire universe.
Exactly.
When we understand that, and when we comprehend that the fungus and the bacteria and the animals and the birds and the bees, they're all connected to us, and when they're doing good, we're doing good. And that is the fundamental thing. I am the whole universe, and everyone needs to comprehend that. And
We are
until we
all-
have that paradigm shift, nothing can happen.
Mhm.
We're not going to solve any problems. We could have as much energy we want, but we're still going to crater into the ground if we don't have that comprehension. Because the main thing right now is biocide. We're destroying habitats for biology, and without the bees, and without the birds, and the animals, and the
The
plants,
butterflies,
we're all
they're
gone.
doing it to the butterflies as well. And
Well, it's just everything.
Yes,
At this point stage,
absolutely.
we lose 200 species every single day,
Right.
over 20,000 a year. And if we continue this, we're going to destroy the diversity of this planet. And diversity is abundance. The more
Mhm.
diverse you have, the more abundance you have.
Yes, agreed. Absolutely. Now, how is somebody going to reach you?
The best way is codegreencommunity.com,
Okay.
www.codegreencommunity.com, and you can check out the Kickstarter video, and you can contribute. Contribute whatever you can, $1, $5, 15, 30. There's different rewards for every amount of contribution that you put out. And you can just check out all of the work that I've been doing for the past 4 years. I'm very open source, I'm very transparent, and I'm all about sharing. I want a tipping point to happen in the Tampa Bay area. I want a fundamental shift to happen. I want what you want. I want what a lot of other people want. I want us to recognize that we are this whole universe, and we need to work together.
And that we can thrive together. I
Most
mean,
definitely.
that's the key is that we don't have to have $1 million in order to be okay.
Mhm.
We can be happy without. Christy from the Permaculture Guild was
Christy
here. in
Abbott,
this-
she was in the PDC.
Oh, I love her. She is so wonderful, and we started talking, and we ran out of time. Let me tell you. But you know, you can live on nothing. You can live on. You don't have to have $1 million. You can find the connections that you need, and you can start living, and then you can start contributing and helping the land and helping the people around you. There are things that you can do. The first thing you do is, of course, I am that I am. I am that I am. And then when you get up in the morning, make a conscious choice to look at your person you're walking next to, or if you're sitting on the bus, you know, take a minute and just look at the person next to you and say, hi, how are you?
Because they are you in a way.
Exactly.
I mean,
We
they're not
are
your
one.
ego, but they are you. They're just as important as you are to this whole world.
Well, and in God's world, here's the truth. Ego is not even acknowledged. Ego is not part of God at all. It is not. It is something that has been created here on the earth to create and provide that separation. And so the reality is that if you step back before you respond to something, which I should have done earlier today, and just said, am I, like Eckhart Tolle says, am I the space for this? If you think about it, how do I want to respond to this? And you can either do it positively or you can do it negatively. Or you can just choose not to respond, period, and walk away. I mean, you don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything. It really is about that. And honor yourself. If something in your gut is not right, it probably isn't. And that's the key.
Follow your intuition.
Absolutely.
That inner guidance is everything.
Absolutely.
It's where all the intelligence comes from in the universe.
Absolutely. You know, you are just a blessing. Eric, I love you. I think you're just wonderful. I appreciate you coming here on the show. We are, of course, I need to just mention once again our sponsors again. It is getting to be just about that time. And our sponsor today was Pura Vida Wellness Spa. And that's Stephanie and Kathleen. And they are located at 4930 Park Boulevard, Suite 9. And you can reach them there at myyogavita.com and set up an appointment if you'd like to learn a little bit about yoga. They have this wonderful infrared sauna, which is just awesome. I love it. We are on rhinoonair.com, and that is RHINO onair.com. You can actually plug in with us too on your app or your iPhone and go through Live 365. But the most important thing is that I'm talking with Eric Stewart, Code Green Communities, a man that I truly believe has been instrumental in the change of a lot of what's going on here in Tampa Bay. This is Shift Happens Radio on Rhino on Air. It's been absolutely a blessing. I'm glad you've been here, Eric. And I'm Elle. I hope you've had a wonderful day. Thank you very much for tuning in to Shift Happens Radio on rhinoonair.com, and we'll see you next week. Next week I have two lovely guests, Allison Kay and John Lenberg, and we're going to be talking about how you can revamp your businesses and come from a new paradigm again and help become a little more abundant. And so have a great day. This is Rhino on Air, and we'll talk to you next week. Is that some awesome music or what? This is Elle, and you are on Shift Happens Radio, and we are located right here on the, what do we want to call it, the IP address of www.rhinoonair.com, and we have an exciting day today. Of course, you know, if you've listened to Shift Happens Radio before, it's all about the shift. It's all about everything that's changing in our world today. The truth is, and you and I all know it, that everybody is being forced to make changes. And if you're not doing it yet, you will have to. Well, maybe you won't have to. I shouldn't sound like that. But the bottom line is that I personally have had incredible shifts in my life. I'm still going on as we speak now. And the reality is that that it is never as bad as you really think it is. And from absolutely everything that happens, something wonderful happens. And so if you can let go of all the fear and just walk forward and realize that there are no coincidences in our lives, that people come to us for a reason. And so in saying this, this lovely man sitting next to me is somebody that I ran into. And through all of my kind of out and about, I ran into Eric Stewart. And Eric is you started Code Green Communities, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, super. But you've done many, many things. And so today you are my one guest for the entire show. And the reason I want to do that is because you have so much that we need to talk about. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things here, folks, that if you have a chance, be sure to check us out. Now, Eric is recording this.
Log in using your Facebook, your Twitter, your Google, and you can link with hundreds of other people in the Tampa Bay area.
Right.
And it's, I wanted to build a website that was open source, meaning that anyone on the website could add events, add photos, add blogs. It's like a mini Facebook, but away from Facebook.
Right.
Not all that clutter. It's very specific for Tampa Bay and for going green. And mm-hmm. built it several years ago. I used to own ExxonMobil stocks, and I was very interested in the oil markets. And I found out that the oil markets, it's a finite resource.
Right.
And so eventually we're going to plateau and peak production of oil and then start to decline.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have. Yes.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And so I decided that there needs to be more information and more action going on about reducing our need for fossil fuels.
Right.
Transitioning away
Agreed.
from fossil fuels.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to build like an action network where people could get integrated, learn, and right from the get-go get into action and get into doing something around their home or in their community that could transition away from fossil fuels.
That's an excellent thought. Well, and the reality is that we have so many other options. They squelch some of them, and then again, there's those that may just come true here very soon enough. There's a gentleman who's developed and learned that we can actually run our vehicles on salt water, which would be a pretty awesome thing since we do have plenty of that at this point.
Well, there's plenty of energy.
Exactly.
E equals mc squared. Einstein came up with that over 100 years ago. So you have like a little container of water, your bottled water. That bottled water has so much energy in it. I went to school for chemistry and for biology.
Oh, how cool is this?
And so the bonds between the hydrogen and the oxygen in your H2O, it's a very intense amount of energy. And when you break it apart and you make hydrogen and oxygen as a gaseous form, you can get lots of energy. And so we're getting to that point where we could use solar power and split the bottle full of water and make tremendous amounts of energy, just the way plants do it every single day through photosynthesis. But the problem that lies in our society is that we are not designing our living spaces, and we're not designing our society in the right way. We have a bad paradigm.
Right.
And we need to shift our paradigm.
Agreed.
Most definitely.
So I totally agree with that, because unfortunately the focus is on something that, I mean, it's about money and it's about power, it's about control. And the truth is that we can all live in a loving, communal, happy society, and we could genuinely help and work with each other it's, for me, it's not about the money, and it really is about the message. And for those of you people who don't know this, I work and I do this radio show, and I do not get paid to do this. I do this because I love doing this show. I love being able to pass information on and help people find, when I first started Shift Happens, I said to somebody that, I know I'm going to piss some people off. And you know what? It's all right. But the reason that that's happening is because something is resounding within themselves that really, really touches them. And instead of being angry with me, take a look at what's being said and ask yourself, what is it? Why am I so irritated with this? Why is it? I mean, there's obviously something I can do differently for myself, obviously. It's just like when you get annoyed with someone else, the reason that you get annoyed with them is because you see something about yourself in them. And so this is what this is about. The Shift Show is here to help you see, to learn, and to open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the other possibilities in shifting times. And we really are in a place where we do have to start growing our own food. We do have to start loving our earth far more than what we've been doing, and paying attention to it and respecting it. And you can literally live from your land. I mean, very easily. And I have to share this part about what you posted. There were two things that you posted on Facebook. So folks, and we will be posting it on YouTube. And we will have this up on the website here at Rhino On Air. Eventually, we're having a little technical problems right now. But that will be up very soon, and you will, after that, be able to reach it also at www.shifthappensradio.com. So you will have access to it in 3 different spaces. Eric Stewart is from Newport Richey. And he has been working as far as anything that you could possibly imagine in the permaculture, organic, reduce, reuse, let's be good to our earth kind of mindset, which is what we really need to be doing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that's the truth, is that part of the reason that we are having so many problems right now, I think, in our world, is because everybody thinks that they have to buy everything new, that they have to have the most expensive this and that, and we really don't have to be doing that. There's such beauty in just simplicity.
Oh, yeah.
And there's such beauty in listening to just, being outside and getting your fingers in the soil. I was doing that this morning, planting seeds, and I was having fun. Actually,
let me see your fingernails. Are they
nope,
dirty?
They're clean. They're clean. Yeah, I've been growing some avocado from seed and some grapefruit
wow,
from
nice.
seed and all of that. But I have to watch out because I have little varmints that like
Fruit
to nibble.
rats. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is what I would like to do. I do have to mention one thing. We do have a sponsor today also, and that is the Pura Vida Wellness Spa, which is located over at 4930 Park Boulevard in Suite 9. Now at 49th and Park Boulevard, it's a really busy intersection. So when you get there, it's in the corner where the donut shop is, and it's in the very, very corner if you can't seem to see it. If you'd like to have an appointment and learn a little bit more about yoga, or if you want to check out, they have this amazing infrared spa sauna that you can go into. You can make an appointment with them at myyogavita.com. You can talk with either Kathleen Leslie, who is a licensed colon therapist, and and I don't have my glasses on, and I don't have glasses with me. I broke my glasses. Oh no. And then we also have Stephanie Carroll, who is a yogi, and both of these gals are absolutely wonderful. So if you're looking for an opportunity to find a place to relax and get a little stress relief, there's the perfect spot for you. So Eric, this is what I would like to do with you, first of all. I would like have you always been organically inclined? I mean, always been like an earth baby, I'm going to say?
Well, I just want to start off by thanking you for inviting me to the show. And I remember when we first met, I believe it was over at Occupy Tampa.
And we talked on actually Facebook for I don't know how long.
Months and months.
But here we are, and then all of a sudden
I'm like a Facebook holic.
Yes, yeah.
You always are liking my links and my pictures.
And folks, you need to check them out because Facebook is full of everything that Eric offers, not to mention everything that we'll talk about today, too. So.
But in regards to your question, have I always been an Earth baby? I guess in a way. I mean, I always grew up with the Disney films of like The Last Fern Gully and just
what a great movie.
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah.
And I guess I was always mindful of science and mindful of the environment. My family is all native. Well, I'm native to Tampa Bay, and my family has lived here for about 20 or 30 years. And so on our family gatherings, we would always go to the local parks, like Fort DeSoto down in St. Petersburg, or Philip E. Anderson Park. All around the Pinellas County, we've been to every single park. And so my uncle, who's very close with me, he's always taken me around through nature walks and just really made me think and be observant of nature.
Right, very cool. And so here we are, and we have Code Green Community, and you're doing a lot of things. I mean, you're offering classes. You also are part of GreenDreams. Why don't we do this first? Let's do this. Why don't you tell me what your heart is and what you're really focusing on right now, and let's talk about that. I mean, the Code Green Community is you're actually starting to do something really special. Can we talk about that first?
Sure, yeah. Well, I guess I should explain what Code Green Community is.
Exactly.
It's an online social network. You can